I might suggest that when we feel kind of human bound and not feeling the connection with our infinite self, our eternal self, the expansiveness and sense of openness that is, then there's something that's bothering us, you could say, that when that topic comes up in our thinking, we quickly think it through. There's a lot of rationalizations that occur. There's a lot of justifications for why we're thinking in that way, why that thing is, why it's legitimate that thing is bothering us. But what we might do, at least again during the first part of this meditation, is just look at that thing directly. And as such, begin to build a new relationship with it. There's a quote that you guys might have heard before. You have to see it to be free of it. So the opposite of seeing something to be free of it is when that topic comes up in our mind to continue to think it through, along with all of our justifications and rationalizations and defenses of why we should be thinking or feeling that way. Whereas an example of seeing something to be free of it is to hold that thing still in our mind and look at it directly. And as such, we might start to see the way it's more impersonal rather than personal. And that's an example of building a new relationship with that. So, if everyone's ready to dive into this meditation and look at those parts of ourselves that feel very human at times and might feel very fragile or might feel very dense, and as such, see it to be free of it, then let's go ahead and attempt that in our meditation. So if you guys are ready, get comfortable and mute your phones so you're not disturbed on your end, and then of course mute your microphones so we're not disturbed by anything that happens on our end. Hi Kathy, perfect timing. We're just about ready to close our eyes. Okay, so if everyone is ready, we'll go ahead and get comfortable and close our eyes. Now, the very first thing to do when we're attempting to become more centered, if our eyes are open, or meditate, if our eyes are closed, is to simply first notice what is here. What is here? And there are obvious things that are here, like sounds. And if our eyes are open, there would be obvious things that are here, like sights. And there's also obvious things that are here, like feelings sensations or emotions. And all of these things, embedded in them due to repetition, have particular meaning. When we hear this sound, it means that. When we see that, it means this. When we feel this, it means that. And oftentimes, this repetition has played out so many times, so many years ago, that it's not quite conscious today. But if we look at some of these things directly, sort of holding it still for a moment, then we might start to see that what is embedded is not inherent in it. As an example, we may hear someone sigh, for instance. And due to repetition, perhaps from many years ago, that sigh had a particular meaning that perhaps, for instance, was of a negative connotation. So in the present time, every time we hear a sigh, embedded in that sound, for us alone, is that negative a connotation. But it very much feels like that negative a connotation, that meaning, is in the sigh, or in the world. So to speak. So, what would be a method for beginning to re-examine the way we experience the world, but to sort of grab a hold of it, so to speak. Grab a hold of that sound and look at it directly. Is that meaning, in which has a negative connotation, inherent in that sound? And of course, if that meaning isn't inherent in the sound, but rather our own meaning embedded in something that seemed outside of ourself, of the world, a sigh, then perhaps there are other meanings we have embedded in what seems like the world, something outside of us. So the question is, after that relatively easy example, what is it in our own life that we have some meaning embedded in something outside of us? Not realizing the way in which we can reclaim our own power. So what is it that's perhaps bothersome to us at times? Or when this topic or situation or person comes up, our mind quickly moves as a way to or rather inadvertently keeping our meaning pinned on that situation, person, or topic. And as a result, inadvertently keeping us vulnerable to that topic, situation, or person. So identify this bothersome topic, situation, person, or whatever, and attempt to isolate it in such a way that it can be looked at directly. In a similar way that we isolated and looked at the sound of a sigh. And perhaps even notice anything that comes up within you as a result of even considering removing the meaning from this bothersome topic, situation, or person. Notice what comes up at even the idea of removing this meaning. Feel that too. Notice that too. Allow space for that too. And in a very delicate and subtle way, perhaps, begin to notice the way that meaning is something that could be, even if only within the parameters of an experiment, be removed from that bothersome topic, situation, or person. Notice how, perhaps if at least within the parameters of an experiment, that meaning can be suspended. Now, we might play with a game of how much in this moment can I become aware of? Or to say that again slightly differently. And now we might play a game of how much meaning can I become aware of? Perhaps we can even let go of our bothersome situation, our bothersome topic, person, or situation, and just become aware of another situation in life or this very moment itself. Can I play a game of what meaning can I become aware of next? In a similar way, we became aware of the meaning that the sound of a sigh had, and noticed that meaning wasn't inherent in the sigh. So perhaps now we could play a game of either identifying another situation in our life or just simply noticing what meaning might be floating around in our experience right now. That is acting in a sort of unconscious way because that meaning had been thought so many times before that now that meaning is just inherent, seemingly inherent in our experience. So again, maybe we could play a game. What do I think is happening now? What do I think is going on in my life? What do I feel has to be worked out prior to knowing myself, to feeling peaceful? What obstacle courses have I inadvertently set up? Which creates a distance from myself and peace, rather than bringing me closer to it. all of these things are examples of meaning that we may have embedded into what we call life, just due to thinking about that meaning throughout the years. So let's play a game. What is it right now, in my own experience, can I become aware of as the meaning I have inadvertently added? And as such, are living that meaning, whether consciously or, in many cases, unconsciously. What meaning in this moment can I become aware of? You might even notice each time we reach out to grab one of those meanings, it shakes, it vibrates. There might be a variety of different experiences that happens, even upon the idea of shaking one of these loose. Notice the defense. Notice a sense of loss. As you identify one of these meanings in which you live your life by, and as you question this meaning, notice what comes up, what you feel. How that meaning might not be ready to become elucidated. It might need to stay in the dark a little bit longer. But is that really true? Can every one of our meanings be ready to be looked at? have to question our own identity in this process. Who am I without this meaning? And it might be worthy to suggest that perhaps you are nothing. Not nothing in the traditional sense of having no value, but nothing in terms of not really a thing. Perhaps you, at the core of yourself, is not a thing at all. Not even a person. Perhaps the core of you is something undefinable. Transparent. Openness. Nothingness. Vastness. Free. Now you may feel it's most appropriate to stay open, in which case that would be good to do. Or you may feel you might like to conclude by formulating some takeaway. Condense down on that takeaway. In which case, that would be also good. So feel free to take a moment to do whatever feels right to you. And whenever you're ready, and only when you're ready, feel free to allow yourself, if you like, to filter back into the body, as it were, to become present within the room once again, easing back into our conversation with each other. And when you're ready, and again, only when you're ready, feel free to take in a deep breath and open your eyes.